everyone, and welcome back to Crochet Tutorials. This video is intended actually as an introduction for absolute beginners. So if you're a little bit more experienced with crochet, then this probably isn't the video for you. It is going to be very helpful though to people who are just learning to crochet and want to know exactly how to chain, how to single crochet, and how to double crochet. So let's get started. What I've got in front of me is yarn, obviously. I have a hook. What hook you use doesn't really matter as long as it's a mid-size hook. I wouldn't go down really small, and I certainly wouldn't be using a giant hook at this stage. This is a 5.5 mil, so if you've got a 4 mil, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, they'll all be fine. Even a 3.5 mil hook will be fine if you're using an 8-ply yarn. This is a Aran weight yarn. It is probably about the equivalent of a 10-ply, and obviously I've got my pair of scissors in front of me. Probably won't need them, but I've got them there. Alright, so let's get started. Firstly, let's have a look at the slip knot. When you look at other people's YouTube videos, everyone does a different slip knot, and that's absolutely fine. The way I do my slip knot is the way I was shown years ago, so it is what I'm going to show you today. I take this, obviously goes off on this direction to my ball of yarn. This is the tail end. So I wrap the tail end around my 2 fingers and then bring the working end up and just tuck it under where I've wrapped it around my 2 fingers. And then you can pull on that, and as you do, take your fingers out, hang on to the tail, and that is the beginning of your slip knot. So if you pull on both ends, you'll tighten that knot. You don't need to tighten it, you're not trying to strangle it, you just need to pull it firm. And then your hook goes in that knot, and you can pull on the working end of your yarn, not the little scraggly tail, the working end of your yarn, and it will tighten that slip knot. So just to show you that again, wrap it around your 2 fingers and then come up and tuck that end under, so you've got a little tiny loop coming under your 2 fingers, and then pull on that loop while taking your fingers out, hang on to the tail end and tighten. That is your slip knot. Pretty much everything in crochet will involve a slip knot. Not everything, but most things. Once we've got the knot on the hook, or the loop on the hook, you don't want it too tight. You don't want to strangle your hook because it will be very difficult to bring the yarn back through. But of course, you don't want it too baggy either. If it's too sloppy on the hook, then it'll fall everywhere and all your stitches will be uneven as well. So you want it nice and firm, but not too tight, which is obviously a really indistinct thing, but you'll get the feel for it. When we start, actually before I start, I should say that there are many ways to hold a hook. Some people will hold their hook like this, which is absolutely fine for them, and other people hold it like this. This tends to be the 2 common ways. I hold my hook like that. Doesn't matter how you hold a hook. Doesn't matter what anyone says to you either. Don't let anyone make you feel bad if you don't hold it like this. If you had no hands, you'd possibly use your foot to hold it, and no one would dare say that you weren't holding it correctly then. So hold it however feels comfortable for you. Same goes for the yarn in your other hand. You'll see many people use all sorts of different ways of holding that yarn in their hands. I'm just going to zoom out as far as I can. That is as far as I can zoom out. What I do is I tend to wrap it around my pinky and then come up and go across my index finger like that. I'll tend to tuck this finger in, and you'll see that when I'm working I actually hold whatever my job is in these 2 fingers. So again, just wrapping it around the pinky and up over the index finger. Now other people hold it very differently to that. It's okay, works for them, this works for me. So wrapping it around and up, and you can see if I pull on that, it slides very easily through my hand, and that's what you want. You don't want a lot of resistance, but you want it to be able to not be baggy. So it's not like this, it's quite firm and in a straight line. So that is holding your yarn and the slip knot. Alright, so we have created the slip knot. It is on our hook now. If you need help to put a slip knot on a hook, then feel free to rewind the video. But the slip knot's on there. I'm just going to... We've obviously talked about how to hold your yarn in your non-hook hand. But generally speaking, it is best to hold with your other fingers as close as you possibly can to where you're working. And at this stage, because I'm only going to do a chain, I'm working right here at the hook. So I'm holding right below the hook, right below my slip knot. I'm not hanging on to the slip knot because I can't without hanging on to that loop. I'm hanging right below the slip knot. When we chain, essentially what you're doing is you are putting your hook under the yarn. So that's called yarning over. So the yarn goes over the hook, and then you're dragging it through that loop on the hook, which is of course why you don't want that loop very tight. So if I make that slip knot again, and have a look at that again, essentially I've got my hook up, facing up, and then I angle it under the yarn and then kind of turn it towards me, and so the hook grabs the yarn there, and then slowly just drag it through that loop. And that is a chain. So it's one of the fundamentals of crochet, and certainly all the old school teachers would have insisted that you master the chain before you move on to any stitches. So let's try that again. You put your hook underneath your yarn, and as you move your hook, you grab that yarn and slide it through the loop. Now, if you're not holding your yarn, your working yarn firmly, and say you were holding down here, this is all baggy and it becomes quite difficult actually to control what's going on. See, that loop's become quite large. Just zoom in on that. See, that loop has become quite large on my hook there, and it becomes really difficult, see how huge that is, to get a consistent size if you're not holding it in the right position. So as you work up your chain, you move your fingers up the chain. So you can chain a few, but then when it gets too floppy, then you move up and you hold that steady again. So it's really important that hanging on to your work right near where you're working is absolutely fundamental to good crochet. You need your stitches to be consistent in size, and that includes your chain. So one of the biggest things that people who are learning experience is that their chain is all over the place. Some of the chains are really tight, some of the chains are really loose, and it's generally because they don't have enough tension on this working end, and they're not holding close enough to where they're actually working. At the moment when we're working a chain, of course, we're only working through this loop. All right, so again, you yarn over and then drag that through the loop. Still got a nice little loop on the hook. Yarn over, drag it through. Yarn over, drag it through. Rearrange your hand. Be up here. Yarn over, drag it through. Yarn over, drag it through. Yarn over, drag it through. If at any stage it feels wobbly, it's probably because you're not moving your hand up enough. So always hang on to where you're working. Yarn over, drag it through. Yarn over, drag it through. That is a chain. And a lot of crochet projects will ask you to make a foundation chain, and this is essentially what it is. We'll then go through and crochet our stitches into these individual chains. And we'll have a look at that with the single crochet. Okay, so are we ready for single crochet? If you're still confused with the chain or the slip knot, please go back and have a look at that technique. But certainly if we're making a chain, we're going to make, say, 3 more chains and then start with single crochet. In the UK, a single crochet is referred to as a double crochet, and the UK doesn't have a reference to single crochet. So you'll know if someone's talking in US terms if they use the term single crochet. Doesn't really matter what you call it, it's the same thing, it just has a different name. So for a single crochet, what we need to do is, again, you're holding the destination, you're supporting the place that you intend to work. Now if I take my hook out there, this is the stitch that I want to go into. It's a chain, obviously, that's all a chain. But you can see that there's a little hole in there in between the V. So that, where am I? That is where we're going to go in. So we do that with a single crochet by going, by going directly into that. Okay, and you can see that I've gone into that chain. There is one loop on my hook from my working yarn, and then this is the loop from the chain itself. And then I'm going to come underneath my yarn again and grab it. I'm going to yarn over and then come through that chain. And you can see now I have 2 loops on the hook. And the hole in the chain's gotten considerably bigger. That's completely normal. And again, I'm going to yarn over and finish the stitch by going through both of the stitches. Now, both of the loops. That's why in the UK they call that double crochet, because you're going through 2 loops. In the US it's called single crochet because you only go through 2 loops once. It's just terminology. So let's try that again. This stitch here is our next destination stitch. It's this hole here it's big because it's already got a stitch in it. So this next chain is our destination stitch. So we're hanging on to that. And then we go into that stitch, come grab the yarn, come through the stitch. I hang on again to support that. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through both loops. It helps if you tighten that a little bit, and that will make your crochets a consistent size. So here is our next destination stitch, because we're just going into each stitch at the moment. That's our next destination stitch. So you can see that I'm actually holding with my index finger, I'm holding the loop on my hook. And the reason being is because if I don't, it's free to sort of roam around all over the place. But if I do hold it, what happens is that I've got a lot more control of this segment, as well as I'm holding here, and my destination stitch is sitting on top of this finger. So I know exactly where I'm going. I'm in the stitch, I'm yarning over, and I'm pulling through. And I pull up that loop, and then I grab the bottom here just to make everything stable, yarn over again, pull through 2 loops. So that stability is generally where people fall down when they're having difficulty getting into the stitch. It's probably because you're holding here on your hook and you're not controlling this loop on your hook. As well, you might be holding here, and so it's difficult to get in. I can't even get in there. So if you hang on to your destination stitch and hang on to this, then you have got maximum control over those stitches. So we're in the stitch, we're yarning over, we're pulling through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over again, pull through both loops, tighten it up. Again, we're in the stitch, we're yarning over, we're pulling through that loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. So one more time, we're hanging on to that. I've got this on my finger, it's all stable. I'm in the stitch, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. It's pretty important that you hang on here when you go to pull through. Watch what happens if I don't. So if I know my destination stitch is here. It looks all mangled, he's tiny, but there you go. So I'm going to go into that and then pull it up. If I don't hang on to this part here so I can stabilize it, it feels wonky, and it is wonky. And if I keep doing that, it'll just be super wonky as I go along. So into the stitch, everything's being held safe, yarning over, pulling through. Then when I've got those 2, oh, good God, sorry about that. When I've got those 2 loops on my hook, I'm going to grab the bottom here and yarn over and pull through. That is as easy as that. So I'm in the stitch, I'm yarning over, I'm pulling through, I grab the bottom, yarn over, pull through. All right, so that is one last time in the stitch, yarn over, pull through, grab the bottom, yarn over, pull through. That is single crochet into a foundation chain. The next stitch that we need to talk about is double crochet. That is the US terminology. In the UK, they call it treble, but we'll have a look at that in just a second. Okay, so what I've done is I've undone all my single crochet and I have rechained 12. So I've chained 12 chains. Now, generally, when you need to double crochet, you need to chain up to the height of the double crochet, which we'll talk about in another video. But it will be these kinds of chains that you use when you do that. But if we wanted to double crochet in here, a double crochet is generally 3 chains high. Where am I? It's generally 3 chains high. Now, this loop on the hook doesn't count as a chain. So 1, 2, 3. So if I'm going to do a double crochet on this chain, actually my destination will be the 4th chain. But we can do it anywhere because we're just practicing. So a double crochet is different to a single crochet. Remember, a single crochet, we just go straight into the stitch. With a double crochet, or a treble in the UK, what we do is we yarn over first. That's the real difference. We yarn over first. And of course, I'm hanging on to both of those loops on my hook because stability counts. So this is my destination. My thumb is next to it. My finger is under it, making everything a stable platform. I've got hold of this over here. So I've yarned over. Now I'm going to go into that stitch, into that chain. And I'm going to yarn over again and pull through. And you'll see there are 3 loops on the hook. And this is why in the UK it's called a treble, because there are 3 loops on the hook. But in the US they call it a double because you pull through 2 loops twice. Remember, with the single crochet we pulled through 2 loops once, but with the double crochet we're going to pull through 2 loops twice. So once you've got the 3 loops on the hook, you're going to yarn over again and drag that through 2 of the loops on your hook. Okay, and now you have 2 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over again and pull through those 2 loops. So once again, we yarn over. everything's stable. I'm hanging on. I'm going to keep banging on about that because this is really important. And then we go into the chain and yarn over and pull through. So we've got 3 loops on the hook. Yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, yarning over again, pulling through the remaining 2 loops. They are double crochets. Now they are probably about twice the size or the height of, or maybe 1.5 times the height of a single crochet, but they are a very, very common. In fact, they're probably the most common stitch that you're going to be doing in crochet. So again, we're yarning over, we're stabilizing everything. We've got our destination stitch on our finger, and I'm going into the chain, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through. 3 loops on the hook, yarn over 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2 again. So this is what double crochet will look like. It is, as I said, your most common stitch. It's really easy once you get the hang of it. And as I've sort of waffled on, I don't know if you can hear my teenage daughter in the background. She's on the phone with all her friends. All right, so as I've waffled on about enough, I think stabilization is the key. If I'm hanging on to here and I'm trying to go into this stitch here, it's going to be tough. Okay, so hang on to where you are working. Hold your loops on your hook so they're not flying about the place. Go into the stitch, yarn over, pull through. You pull up slightly, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. It is so easy once you get the hang of it. Have a practice at that. Doesn't matter how many you've chained. Once you reach the end, if you want to keep practicing, undo it all. It's really easy to undo crochet. Just pull it apart and rechain. It's good practice. So make your slip knot again and then rechain however many. I would say at least 12, but certainly just do a few like this, and then yarn over, count back 1, 2, 3 to the 4th, and go into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Feel free to keep practicing that. If you need to rewind the video to refresh your memory on the instructions, please do. Otherwise, we'll be back for one last stitch, which is the half double crochet. Okay, so I've got my slip knot on the hook, and I'm just going to chain a random amount. It doesn't matter. This is just practice. So we've got however many, I'm not even counting. That's how rebellious I am. Doesn't matter. We've got a loop on the hook and we've got a nice even chain sitting there. Half double crochet is, I think in the UK they may call it half treble, but it differs to the half double or to the double crochet in that you don't pull through 2 loops twice. You pull through 3 loops once. Okay, so what we do, same as with double crochet, we yarn over and then we go into our destination stitch and we yarn over again and pull through, and we've got 3 loops on the hook. With half double crochet, what we do is yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops. Half double crochet is one of those fantastic quick stitches, and certainly it doesn't have all the height of a double crochet, but it is really just a wonderful working stitch. So it certainly is one of my preferred stitches. So again, we yarn over. identify our destination stitch, which is this one, go into that stitch, yarn over and pull through. We have 3 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. So certainly with half double crochet, it's an easier stitch than double crochet, but it's not used everywhere, and double crochet is definitely more commonly used. All right, so one last time, we're going to yarn over, identify the destination stitch, go into that chain and yarn over again and pull through. So we've got 3 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops. That is half double crochet. It is a lovely little stitch, and I'm sure when you're practicing it, you'll absolutely enjoy it. Okay, so for one last practice, what we're going to do is just pop the slip knot back on the hook again and chain another random amount. Don't get stuck with numbers at this stage. There'll be plenty of time for you to focus on numbers when you're actually crocheting a project. We've just crocheted or chained a random number. Then what we're going to do, I thought we could just pop in, so not the first hook, not the first chain from your hook, but the second, we could pop in a single crochet in there. Okay, so we're going into the stitch, we're yarning over, we're pulling through, we've got 2 loops on the hook. Yarning over again, pulling through both loops. Again, going into the stitch, yarning over, pulling through, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over again, pulling through both loops. Now, if we did a half double crochet from here, what we would need to do is yarn over beforehand, go into the destination stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Again, we yarn over, we go into the destination stitch, yarn over again, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over again, pull through all 3 loops. And that is half double crochet. So for the double crochet, remember, we yarn over, we go into the destination stitch, we yarn over, we pull through, we have 3 loops on the hook, then yarn over again, pull through 2 loops, yarn over again, and pull through the final 2 loops. So we'll do that one more time. Yarn over, go into the destination stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now you can see here, when I put that down, that there's this lovely graduation of size. This is a single crochet, this is a single crochet, this is a half double crochet, that's a half double crochet, and these are double crochets. That's the difference between the stitches, and that's why different patterns will specify different size stitches. All right, I do hope this tutorial was helpful. Watch it as many times as you like, and feel free to share it with other people who are learning to crochet. That is my daughter in the background, so I really do think it's time for me to end this video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope it was helpful. All the best with your crochet, and I hope to see you next time.